Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Market Down Podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by James Gisante, reviewing all of the news that has happened in the last week in the world of wrestling. And we are going mostly AEW Ring of Honor based here, and we are going to start with the news that Lord William Regal will indeed be leaving AEW to return to WWE. There's been a lot of speculation about this over the past few weeks. It was finally addressed by Tony Kahn at his media call before Ring of Honor's final battle this coming Saturday. So Regal had went to Tony Kahn and asked Tony to not renew his contract as he wanted to return to WWE to help coach his son. Kahn, who has a lot of respect for Regal, granted his request, and after the holidays, Regal will be indeed be leaving, AEW. Tony Khan also mentioned that there will be some on-screen sacrifices, but he felt it was the right thing to do. So, James, we've discussed this a bit on our live shows, but Regal leaving, it does kind of suck. I think we were all kind of enjoying what was going on with the BCC, at least to a certain extent, and we were certainly enjoying what Regal was doing, especially when it came to Excalibur. But like Tony said, I think this was the right thing to do here. Especially Tony did mention that he had been having some family stuff with his mother as well, so he could sympathize with Regal wanting to spend more time with his family. And him going back to WWE seems like the right thing for Regal at this time.
I agree. It's tough when you have someone as beloved as Regal. Truth be told, I'd love it if he could contribute to both companies at the same time if it was possible.
I feel like he'd be like one of the few people where they actually might let him do it, but everyone's way too competitive to actually let him do it.
Exactly. And he has so much to offer that why would you want anybody else to have him, you know? We knew from the get-go Triple H was not happy that Regal was fired. That was something that if Triple H was in power back then would have never happened in the first place. And, you know, we know they go back a long way. They've been friends. Regal was one of the groomsmen in Triple H's wedding. You know, that says a lot. But even from a professional standpoint, Regal was so invaluable to NXT's development. He was so important to NXT as a brand on TV and to recruiting so many stars into NXT. I absolutely understand almost the need to get him back if you're Triple H. If I'm Tony Khan, I have a lot of respect for Regal, as been said, and you know, it hits close to home, wanting to be with family, considering everything he's going through with his family. And you know, I wish a speedy recovery to Tony's mom, but who seems to be doing better. But yeah, in general, this was sucky. I would have loved to have kept him with the BCC, but I think this is where Regal belongs. You know, he belongs with his kid. He belongs with the brand that he helped develop as beautifully as he did. And I've seen a lot of people upset, or I've seen enough people upset. Why would he go back to a place that left him or kicked him to the curb? He did not want to leave. He enjoyed where he was, and past management made a bad decision. Past management's gone. It's new management now. New management that he gets along with beautifully. I understand wanting to be back there. It's the same thing I said for Malachi Black. It's why I supported if Malachi wanted to go back to WWE, I would have gotten it even if I didn't want it. And it's why I was against Andrade leaving. Or wanting to leave and go back to WWE because he chose to leave WWE. So, all in all, this feels like it's the right move, even if it kind of sucks if you're an AEW fan.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where Regal is such an invaluable resource no matter where he is. Yes. He's such a wealth of knowledge where in AEW, you know, him and Brian and a couple of the other veterans, Dustin Rhodes, would just be out at the ring, you know, helping to train people. Usually the women. I know Dustin works a lot with a lot of the younger women on the roster, and people would just come out and talk to Regal and talk to Brian and just learn about wrestling and learn so many things from them. And as AEW continues to build itself and tries to continue to build younger wrestlers, losing him is rough. Obviously he did such a great job of that in NXT, and I think they wanted some of that there, along obviously with his on-screen presence. He was great on screen. Like I said, he was fantastic with Excalibur. And he was fantastic with Wheeler and getting Bryan and Moxley together and the entire BCC. Like, the whole thing was great. But like we said, wanting to be with his family, going with his son and one of his closest friends in Triple H, and returning to the thing he helped build in NXT, assuming he's going back there. I would imagine he is. It just kind of feels right for him. That's his thing.
One of the things that was discussed, Tony Khan revealed this on during his media call for Final Battle. Regal can go back to WWE, presumably as soon as the contract is over, which would be January, I think.
Yeah, he said after the holidays. He said Regal will be with them through the holidays.
But Regal cannot appear on TV for a year. Yeah. And I think that's a very fair trade-off.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think that's a very fair trade-off. I think Tony Khan is being way more understanding than many people would be in his situation. And maybe you could argue way more understanding than most people should be in his situation.
Yeah, but I feel like for the most part, Tony has shown the respect to most of the wrestlers since he started AEW. So this doesn't really surprise me too much. He hasn't played too much hardball with too many people about going somewhere. So I'm trying to remember who it was. Wasn't there somebody who asked for their release and pretty much they said, yeah, you can leave, but you just can't go back to WWE? Wasn't there somebody with that? And they were like, okay, that's fair. I remember hearing about that at some point. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I don't remember. I'm sure you're right. I couldn't tell you who it was though.
That might have also been speculation about Malachi Black overall.
I think that was speculation over Black.
And quite frankly, the speculation over this was ridiculous. The people saying that Regal had an out clause if Triple H came into power and all that nonsense. I'm glad Tony was able to sit down and be like, guys, here's what happened. You're all being absolutely ludicrous. Stop this nonsense.
But how beautiful is it when we actually get transparency in the company? It's something that we were desperate for with the CM Punk Elite situation, and AEW was criticized for its lack of transparency. For them to be transparent here is very welcome.
I see those two situations differently, though, because one of them involved a legal matter where Tony couldn't really speak about it because there was a lawsuit brought in some way, shape, or form.
To a degree, I agree. But at the same time, it's not a lot to say, yeah, they're suspended. That never happened. We never heard they were suspended.
That's true. Yeah, the only place we heard they were suspended was from Meltzer and stuff. We never actually got an official statement from AEW saying they were suspended, which is something you would think they would do, because that obviously I don't think would affect a lawsuit, just being everyone's suspended. But at least in this situation, obviously it's something that they can be transparent about. And I think for the most part, they do tend to be transparent about these sort of things when they can be. So I'm a little sad Regal's leaving. I'm a little sad he's going to be off TV for a year, which, it sucks for us as fans. But I'm happy he's going to go somewhere where he truly wants to be, go help his son, go help one of his best friends, and almost return home in a way. The WWE, NXT especially, is Regal's home. And maybe, just maybe, Tony Khan will let him say War Games next year. Let's move on to
that's actually, I'm so sorry, before we do move over, that is actually a fun point, because Tony did express in the media call that he was a little miffed with WWE for tweeting that War Games stuff while he was allowing this to happen. He said that it was in poor taste.
What was that? I'm afraid I didn't see it.
he essentially said that he was doing everything he could to make this as easy a transition as possible. And he felt it was wrong on their end for tweeting the War Games tweet with Regal just saying it repeatedly.
Oh.
Because it's like, I'm giving you this. You don't need to
rub it in.
Yeah.
It was such a good tweet, though.
It was fantastic. And I think it was something we all appreciated. But if I'm Tony Kahn, who's bending over a little backwards here, let's say.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, you're definitely doing them a solid, and they're just kind of rubbing your nose in it.
Yes.
I can see why Tony would be miffed is a good word. Highly underutilized, but great word. All right, let's move on to another AEW topic that also came out of the Final Battle Scrum, which was that Tony Khan said he will be limiting the amount of Ring of Honor presence on AEW television. He said that he doesn't want Ring of Honor overshadowing AEW on its own platform.
A little late.
Beat me to it. Literally was about to say a little late for that, Tony. And that he will also be addressing the future of Ring of Honor after Final Battle. This all via John Alba. Now, first of all, like we just said, little late here, Tony. Ring of Honor has been dominating AEW television for it feels like since he bought it. And it was kind of cool in the beginning, and it is more than run its course to the point where I felt like I was watching AEW Ring of Honor every week instead of AEW Dynamite. But this is also now leading into speculation, James, that Ring of Honor does have a television contract or a show in some way, shape, or form. So I guess first, what are your opinions on them finally starting to disassociate Ring of Honor from Rampage and Dynamite? And I guess Dark and Elevation by extension. And do you believe there is any truth to the speculation that Ring of Honor finally has some sort of TV deal done?
It's weird for me. One, I think it's well documented as the John Cena guy that I am very pro Ring of Honor. You know, I was so happy when Tony bought the company. I was so happy when I started to see Ring of Honor being treated with a little more love than it has in the last couple of years, essentially since the Elite left.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I know you're a Ring of Honor guy, but like I was not a big Ring of Honor fan, but I kept up with it when I started getting into the Bucks and Cody won the title and stuff like that. Like, it was a really cool place to be, and it just got completely engulfed by AEW. So it getting the respect it deserved, plus Tony getting all the video archives, I thought was a great win at the time.
It felt like a win-win situation, you know, Ring of Honor benefits, AEW benefits, and let's throw a third win in there. The fans win, and a fourth win. More wrestlers get to be hired, you know, more wrestlers get a contract. So by all accounts, this should have been an excellent thing, but it's really diluted the AEW brand. And I don't even know how to explain it because all the Ring of Honor champions are AEW superstars or AEW talent. It's not like we wouldn't have been watching Bryan Danielson every week, or it's not like we wouldn't have been watching Chris Jericho every week. So I don't know how they've diluted the brand, but they managed to. Ring of Honor feels more like a burden than an asset right now. And the sooner they can be separated, I think both brands will benefit. But I can't explain how, because I guess Ring of Honor just loses all of the AEW talent. But
I am curious to know how much of the quote unquote AEW talent is actually signed to a Ring of Honor contract and not an AEW contract, because I imagine that they are separate. So
from what I've gathered, Colt Cabana is a good example of this right now.
Right.
Colt Cabana just did an interview, or maybe he was on a podcast, whatever it was. He said, I am contracted by AEW. I have an AEW contract. AEW gives me my paychecks. I get paid by AEW, but they tell me I'm going to be used for Ring of Honor. So I'm going to believe it's one of those instances that everyone is under an AEW contract.
But you get assigned to Ring of Honor?
Yes.
Almost like you get assigned to SmackDown?
Yes, I think it's just going to be a brand under the AEW umbrella.
Right.
So
I guess I would imagine though the corporate umbrella, not the branding. Like it's not going to be AEW Ring of Honor. It's going to be Ring of Honor, it's corporately owned by whatever AEW's company is named.
Yes, I believe that's exactly it. I think you hit the nail on the head. The only Ring of Honor only superstar I can think of right now is Dalton Castle.
Yeah. And I guess Colt's assuming that he's going to go there, and then
I guess the Briscoe brothers. I guess the Briscoe brothers, because God forbid they show up on Dynamite. Yeah,
somebody's making that call somewhere, but yeah, it's pretty obvious there and showing up nowhere. And I think like it seems to me like Mercedes Martinez, who is currently the women's champion, it feels like she's going to be a Ring of Honor person. Who knows what ends up happening with Danhausen? Like. He's been great on AEW television, but he was always, for the most part, a Ring of Honor guy. So you put him down there, he'd get more TV time. Juice Robinson is a recent signing, and he's fighting this weekend against Samoa Joe, which we'll get into in a bit. And Tony was talking at the Scrum about how he might be a great Ring of Honor TV champion. I mean, he is fighting for that title. So, I mean, there are certain people you look at and you're like, oh, are these guys going to go down the Ring of Honor? The Embassy is fighting this weekend against the Dalton Castle and the boys. Are they Ring of Honor talents? You did mention the Briscoes. I think they're automatically there. That's done. That's bought and paid for. Claudio was originally brought in to be on Ring of Honor and ended up getting put in the BCC because Brian got hurt. Is he somebody who ends up down there? Do you want to see guys like Wheeler Yuta or Daniel Garcia perhaps blossom a bit more and can get more screen time in Ring of Honor? So you're right. It's really interesting, going to be very interesting to see how they end up building out this roster. Yeah. How many people end up being, what we feel like are really AEW guys and girls who are being put into Ring of Honor versus, okay, these are some Ring of Honor stalwarts who have just happened to be in AEW while we've been setting all of this up. Jay Lethal, another example. Could he be going down to Ring of Honor as well?
See, but I don't want to say going down to Ring of Honor. It automatically
should be going over. Going over to Ring of Honor.
But I get thinking that. I get that mentality going down to Ring of Honor. It's just woof.
Yeah. And then another person, Samoa Joe as well. I mean, he is the TV champ, like I mentioned, but he's also TNT champion. So
Joe is an example. Joe is all elite.
Yeah.
Claudio, all elite. Castle, not all elite. Very interesting.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see how Tony ends up building out the roster, how much fluidity there is between the two of them.
Yeah.
I don't think I would hate seeing certain people go over to Ring of Honor for a little while just to get them off of AEW TV and let it breathe a bit, get some different matchups, and then eventually come back.
Or even if they're just not being used, a guy like Miro, who is just not being used in AEW, put him in Ring of Honor if you're not going to put him on Dynamite.
Miro could be your Ring of Honor champion for a year, and I don't think anybody would blink.
Miro could win every championship in wrestling, and I'd be happy with it simultaneously.
It looked like that picture of Triple H holding every title ever created.
Exactly.
You're right. I don't think a lot of people would bitch about that.
Not me.
So, but do you think now there is any credence to the speculation they're getting a TV show in some way, shape, or form?
I think it's very likely at this point. One, Tony had expressed several times during the media scrum that he cannot wait until Final Battle is over so he can really start to discuss Ring of Honor's future. If you feel that confident about the future and if you're that excited to talk about it, that leads me to believe there's something to talk about, which makes me think there is a TV show, or at the very least a streaming deal. I hope so. I would love to see Ring of Honor stand on its own 2 feet. Who knows if it actually is. I do think a TV show is going to dictate a lot of how the pay-per-view is being booked.
Yeah.
I really do. And I know we're going to get into those matches in a second, but I think if there was no TV show, the show would be booked one way. And I think if there is a TV show, the show is going to be booked in a different way. So let's see.
You leaning TV show or streaming deal? Because I think I'm leaning streaming deal at this point.
I am too, because while I love Ring of Honor, I don't know that Tony is going to pour the same money into Ring of Honor's budget that he is with AEW. And at that point, you don't need the TV show. Just keep it streaming, you know?
Yeah.
And
whether that ends up on, say, HBO Max or Discovery Plus, and I know those are eventually, unfortunately, merging, but because like I don't, but my point is, I don't think it's going to end up on YouTube.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think this is going to be on a legitimate streaming service, and if that's the way it goes, and I think it's kind of going to be a game changer for Tony Kahn wrestling. You know, I don't know what to call his conglomerate of wrestling companies.
Honestly, TKW isn't a terrible name for a promotion,
right? You could chant that in a crowd.
TK Dub. Yeah, that works.
You're welcome, Tony.
Yeah, I'm leaning streaming deal. It helps keep the Briscoes off of television if that's such a big fucking deal.
See, but that's the interesting thing to me too, because it's specifically from what I've heard, Warner Brothers Discovery, who are prohibiting the Briscoes from being on TV. But if they're gonna be on HBO Max, which is where all signs are pointing their streaming deal is gonna be, what does that mean for the Briscoes? So maybe they're less afraid of them on a streaming service than on TV.
Does this have to do with their past, or is just them as wrestling characters?
Their past, which
I know it's checkered.
it really just for Jay, I think. I don't think it's for Mark Briscoe. I think it's really just for Jay. But he is definitely he's definitely past his second strike. That's kind of the problem.
Yeah.
So
I know some of the history. I know, part of it is they used to wear like Confederate flags on their gear, which people were obviously very against, which is weird because they're from Delaware. And I know at least one of them, perhaps both, they had made some, homophobic comments. And I think was it not Dalton who sat them down and kind of explained what was good?
I don't think so.
I know I did read somewhere online where a wrestler kind of sat them down and talked to them about it and changed their minds. And they have since come out and apologized and, and gone back on what they had said in a positive light. So
by all accounts, from the people who know the Briscoes, they have said that they have learned from their past mistakes and that they are genuinely good guys. Now, I don't know. I've met Jay, I've met Mark, and as a fan, they were awesome. They were amazing. As a fan, I'm very grateful to have met them. As a person, I don't know, but it's a complicated situation.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know what else they've done. That's going to be a discussion for another day.
Yeah. All right. For another day.
Google, kids, it's your friend. I don't want to bog the entire show down, but we'll see what happens with them. We'll see what happens with all of this. Honestly, I'm very excited to see what the future of Ring of Honor is, because I would like it to be a legitimate brand again and not this leech of AEW, which is what it's kind of been for a while.
Yep. And
honestly, I'm also very excited for Final Battle. So let's get into that. We'll just I know Danny's not here giving us goofy ass names, but we'll do a quick prediction show and run down the card.
Ooh, I got it. Starsky and Hutch.
Sure. Let us start then with the Briscoes. They will be facing FTR in a double dog collar match, which was announced on Dynamite this week, like literally in the last 10 seconds of the show. That will be for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships, and James, I think this is the first instance of this. Really kind of depends on whether they have a TV show.
Absolutely.
to know who's going to win.
I think so too. I am operating under the assumption that Ring of Honor is moving forward with its own show. That's how I will be predicting. Well. That is how I will be predicting all of these matches tonight. I believe the Briscoe brothers are going to beat FTR. FTR have been Ring of Honor champs for a while now, and it hasn't benefited the tag titles. You know, I think if you're not going to defend the Ring of Honor tag titles on AEW TV, you might as well take them off of AEW TV and have the Briscoes win it regardless. So I also just don't see the Briscoes losing 3 matches in a row to FTR in something like a dog collar match. It feels way too geared towards the Briscoes. So Briscoes winning the Ring of Honor tag titles. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're going to win as well. I don't think FTR is going to be put on Ring of Honor television, at least not for the long term. Yeah. And honestly, those belts for them have just kind of been props, and they get to carry around 3 sets of titles, and that's all it's kind of been. I know they've defended a few times, and obviously they've defended against the Briscoes twice at the previous pay-per-views. But like you said, a dog collar match is the Briscoes type of thing. It helps to protect FTR in a loss, especially, I don't know if the Briscoes are going to be heel or not. I imagine they are. At least against FTR. FTR is going to get cheered. Yeah. But so, even if they cheat to win, it only protects FTR even more. And while it sucks, FTR is probably going to end up losing a set of titles. Like I said, they have 3. I think running around with 2 is enough. And I don't think they're going to lose those AAA titles anytime soon, because those motherfuckers don't give a shit about titles.
Yes, they really don't. They don't care so much to the point that FTR had those stickers on the belts for, I think, over a year.
Yeah, the last time they had those titles, I'm pretty sure they had the AEW. Well, when they got those titles, I think they had the AEW tag titles.
I think so too.
And they were feuding with the Lucha Bros. Like,
God,
they've had those titles for a minute. So I think they can afford to lose a set of titles, and it allows them to stay on AEW television where they are super duper over, as opposed to moving them to Ring of Honor. All right, let us move on now to the 6-man tag team championships. The champions, Dalton Castle and the Boys, who are my favorites, will be going against the Embassy, which is made up of Brian Cage and the Gates of Agony. Gates of Agony, actually kind of cool from the limited stuff I've seen of them on AEW, but I like the Boys and Dalton Castle far too much to pick against them. So I do believe they're going to retain.
So my heart says Dalton Castle and the Boys. That's what my heart says. My head is saying the Embassy. My head is saying Brian Cage finally gets gold under Tony Khan's regime.
Not including the FTW championship.
That was bronze at best.
Orange, I think.
I don't even know. It was spray tanned, I think. Maybe.
I wouldn't surprise me if Cage caught a little spray tan on it.
I think Castle as a solo act, granted, he's never going to be completely solo because the Boys will be with him. But I think Castle as a solo act can do way more than any member of the Embassy can. I mean, Brian Cage can do anything, but I don't think there are plans for him to really be a solo act. So you might as well put it on the trio that's just genuinely going to stick around as a trio, and have Castle go maybe for singles titles. Like maybe he could go for the TV title. Maybe he could go for the world title again. Maybe he could go for the pure title, because he is that type of wrestler when he wants to be. Yeah, I'm going with the Embassy. I never bet against Prince Nana.
I don't know. I refuse to pick against Dalton Castle and the Boys, but also too, like, considering Castle's previous injury history, I feel like keeping him in the trios division protects him a bit more, where he can have matches but not have to wrestle the whole thing, and it just helps him be on the card and still be a champion without always being a singles guy. Because I mean, you would know more about this than I do, but like, I feel like with his injury history, I would want to do that instead of maybe throwing him back into the singles ranks. So
I'm going to give you the nerdiest comparison I can give. Dalton Castle now is like Darth Vader in the suit. Did he have a lot more potential as Anakin Skywalker? Absolutely. Is he still over and popular and like menacing as fuck as Darth Vader in the suit? Yes.
Yeah, but he's not as powerful.
I mean, that is up to debate. That's all I'm gonna say. That is up to debate.
Not with Vader, but
no, yeah, with Vader. But this is not a Star Wars podcast. When you and I will do that eventually one day.
We're gonna do that right after the show. All right. All right. Well, avoiding that conversation, let's move on to a match that I was very surprised to see on the card because I missed the build to it, which is Swerve and Our Glory, who apparently are still together against Shane Taylor Promotions, which is Shane Taylor and JD Griffey. So obviously, Swerve and Our Glory, we thought they were broken up after Full Gear. They, I guess, talked it out, and there was a bit of backstory put in, I guess, on Rampage, James, if you want to run that down for us, for those of us who missed it.
So essentially, Keith Lee was being interviewed by Renee. Great job, Renee. When he gets interrupted by Shane Taylor, who was one of Keith's tag team partners, I want to say like 6 years ago, maybe give or take. And Shane says, "You left Swerve just like you left me. You keep doing this. And now it's going to be a family affair at Final Battle. Shane Taylor Promotions versus Keith Lee, and find someone who wants to team with you." As soon as he said that, as soon as they left, Keith is standing there when Swerve comes out menacingly, like the creeper that he is. Sneaky Swerve. And he says, "Can I even rely on you, man? Can I even trust you?" And they say, "Let's talk about it." And that's where we are now. That's the match. Swerve and Our Glory versus Shane Taylor Promotions. And can Keith Lee trust Swerve?
I'm going to go with no.
I don't know. I take it back. I do know. Yeah, he can't trust Swerve. I think Shane Taylor Promotions is going to win because Swerve betrays Keith Lee. And I could also say, based off Tony Khan's comments, where he said, yeah, Shane Taylor just felt like the right choice here. He just kind of showed up and it made sense. No, I think Shane Taylor Promotion is going to be a part of Ring of Honor moving forward. And it's a good way to establish the duo by taking on two very well-known stars in Swerve and Our Glory.
Yeah, I will go so far as to say that Keith Lee eats the pin here. Because
I think so. Absolutely.
I think Swerve's going to walk out on him the same way Keith walked out on Swerve at Full Gear. So, because there's no way these two guys aren't feuding. They have to. Like, they've built this so much, and they just can't be like, oh, actually, you know what, Keith's going to turn heel, and they're going to stay together as a tag team. That's so fucking lame. So just give us the feud we want. Have Sneaky Swerve, turn on Keith. Keith eats the pin, and Shane Taylor Promotions gets a good win.
I'm just not looking forward to it. Neither man could afford to lose that feud.
That's true. It's going to be good either way. I know this is not on the card. I think Swerve ends up winning the feud because he is really hot right now as a heel. And Keith will always be over. So I think even if he loses that feud, like, it propels Swerve and Keith will be able to recover, I think. So should be fun, though. Should be a lot of fun. All right, speaking of new guys in the promotion, we have Juice Robinson going up against Samoa Joe for the Ring of Honor Television Championship. I was very confused about Juice. I know his contract with New Japan ended, so he's not there anymore. He has obviously signed some sort of contract with AEW/Ring of Honor. He was somebody Tony Khan brought up in the media scrum, as I mentioned earlier, as somebody who could be a very good Ring of Honor Ring of Honor television champion. But I don't know. I'm kind of liking this whole Samoa Joe ruler of television bit he's got going on right now. I'm really enjoying that. So I think Samoa Joe is going to win here, even though I like Juice and Bullet Club for life.
For life, except for AJ Styles.
For life.
I'm with you. I think Joe retains. I want Juice to win. I think Juice is a talent that American audiences really aren't prepared for because of how fun he is in Japan, or was in Japan. He has a deal with Tony Kahn. He has a deal with AEW, but so far he is not All Elite. He'd make a great TV champion, and it depends on if Tony wants Joe to be on both shows. But I think Joe retains, and that makes me sad. Juice deserves better.
Hell of a matchup between two former NXT guys, I gotta say.
Oh, absolutely. I will say though, if you're expecting CJ Parker from NXT as opposed to Chad, as opposed to the Juice Robinson we have now, you're going to be in for a surprise because this is not the same guy, and it's for the better.
Yeah, he really won me over. I've seen him before in some other Bullet Club involved stuff, but he really won me over in that match against Moxley a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
So like it was the first time I'd see him wrestle, as opposed to just seeing him involved in Bullet Club skits and stuff. So I really enjoyed him in the ring. So I think it's going to be really cool watching him wrestle, and I think he's going to have a really good match against Joe. I know Joe's kind of lost a step, but it's still Samoa Joe. He's still great.
And he can still go.
He can still go. He had a very good match against Darby Allin this past week on Dynamite. So I think this is one of those matches I think could low-key kind of steal the show. And I know, it's going to be hard to beat the likes of the FTR and Briscoes match, which is probably going to end up being match of the night. Also, there's the pure title match, which I think is going to be up there as well. But
seen it too many times.
Yeah, but I like those kids, so I think it's going to be good. But I think this is one of those ones you're going to be like, it was really fucking good? Samoa Joe versus Juice Robinson. Why don't we talk about that more? I feel like it's going to be one of those types of matches.
It's the dark horse match of the show.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, still playing hurt, fighting through it. All right, let's move on to the women's Ring of Honor World Championship match, which will be Mercedes Martinez against Athena. I had completely forgot they turned Athena heel until I saw her at Rampage live a couple of weeks ago, and she came out to kick the shit out of somebody, and I was like, oh, they turned Athena heel. I completely forgot about that because it was on Rampage and nobody fucking saw it. But honestly, she was really good as a heel in that match. I think she's been really good as a heel since I've noticed she's been a heel and she's been paying attention to it. I saw Mercedes Martinez's return. Well, technically both of them. She was on Elevation before Rampage and before Dynamite in Bridgeport, and I kind of spoiled that for everybody because I didn't know she wasn't back yet, and I put it on Instagram. And then I think I saw her official return at Rampage. So either way, I'm excited for this match, mostly because I think Athena is going to win.
I think so too. I think Mercedes has done a good job as Ring of Honor Women's Champion. She's held the belt well. I know she dealt with an injury for a while, which is why we haven't seen her.
I was going to say she was out for a while because we were asking this at one point on the show, like, where the fuck did she go?
And it was treated very low key too. Yeah. There wasn't any major announcement, and you could get away with that, unfortunately, with Ring of Honor because you're not under any obligation to keep the Ring of Honor stuff going on AEW. They just do.
I feel like she beat Deonna Purrazzo and then completely disappeared.
She had the match with Serena Deeb, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that's right. That was a good match, actually.
It was a good match. So I think she has a nice, healthy reign under her belt. And I think this is going to be Athena's first major title on TV.
Yeah, which I'm excited for. And obviously, that would lead her to being on Ring of Honor, but I think that's a good spot for Athena.
I also think, considering the alternative is she's just been stuck on Rampage, it doesn't really feel like downward trajectory in either scenario. She's kind of staying sideways, if anything. She's moving sideways.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, she's going from, the B show, which is on at 10 o'clock, death slot on Friday night, to being the champion of a promotion and being the top woman in the promotion. So I think that's actually a bit of a step up and something that she not only deserves, she's going to be very good at.
I completely agree. And this heel turn has definitely provided her with new life. So more power to her. I'm all for it. Good for Athena, and I'm rooting for her to win the title.
Yeah, and like the gimmick works, the fallen goddess being a heel, and it's just like you said, I think providing new life is a great word for it. She had been a little flat coming in as the baby face, so this has been great for her. I love it. Give her the title, let her run the show. All right, now we come to the aforementioned pure title match between Daniel Garcia and Wheeler Yuta. Obviously, this being contested under pure wrestling rules, which the first time I experienced them was when they had the title match on Dynamite, and as I say that, and I've said this now a couple of times, the first time I experienced this was on Dynamite. I understand that was the point of putting all the Ring of Honor shit on Dynamite. I get it, Tony. You just completely let Ring of Honor just eat AEW from the inside out. Like, there was a way to do it, and maybe it was just because it took them so long to get this TV deal, but it was a little too much. I digress. I know, James, this is now, I think, the third time we're seeing this match one-on-one for the title, but I'm still pretty excited for it.
I actually texted this in our group chat earlier because we were discussing a lot of the Ring of Honor stuff, a lot of the BCC stuff. Sometimes I just want to see good wrestlers wrestle good. I know that's a terribly worded sentence, but it's the
just
truth.
Wrestle well, but yeah, other than that, we're fine.
I was going for something. I was going for
I know. Well, you were the one who said it was terribly worded, so I was.
Yes.
But
we
digress.
Daniel Garcia and Wheeler Yuta are great wrestlers. They are. They're young, talented, scrappy. They are great wrestlers. They're going to put on a great wrestling match. I'm slightly concerned because having seen the first two matches, there wasn't anything between the two matches that differentiated them too much other than the outcome. And I don't want them to have a good match that no one remembers because it's already happened twice.
Yeah, and they just blend together.
Exactly. So I hope I'm proven wrong. I'm sure they're capable of surprising us, or me, I should say. I don't have hype for it, but I know while I'm watching it, I'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm leaning a little towards the other way where I am hyped for it because I am a huge Wheeler Yuta fan, and I'm a pretty big Daniel Garcia fan too. I don't love him in the JAS, but like he's doing really good work there.
Is he though?
I think
he was. He was.
They
after he betrayed Brian, which betrayed after he stuck with Jericho, he hasn't been on TV doing anything.
Yeah, he hasn't really been doing too much. He's been tagging with, Daddy Magic and, Cool Hand Ange on like Dark and shit. They've been having trio matches, but yeah, you're right. Like, I mean, he was in the match on Dynamite this past week with Hager, but that's, whatever. And I think a part of that is just everything that has been this JAS versus BCC feud where it's gone on too long. And this is now their third match, like we mentioned, for the title. They fought each other countless other times in tag matches. They're just always involved. They're always fighting. It's all been too much and too long. And I think that is completely detracting from this match because, like you said, this is two good wrestlers who are going to go in and have a really good match. But everything just surrounding them is really, really taking away from it. And it's unfortunate. And as they've been saying, this is the end of this feud, but this feud should have ended after the Blood and Guts match. And the fact it's still going on and the fact that we've had to extend it all the way out to Final Battle to the fucking end, literally the end of the year, is detracting from this, and it's detracting from the main event as well.
I couldn't agree more. There's letting a feud develop and grow and, telling a story, and then there's dragging something out, and this feud has been dragged out.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate, too, because I feel like these guys could have put on a nice series of 3 matches that all told the story, and they've been spread out too much, and they, like I said, they've just been engulfed by this ridiculously long feud, and it's unfortunate. I realize I haven't given a winner. I don't think you did either.
I don't think I did either. I think I know who it's going to be, but yeah.
I want to see it be Wheeler. My heart says Wheeler. It's probably going to be Garcia, but I'm picking Wheeler just because I like him a lot.
I'm in the same boat. I would love for it to be Wheeler, and I would love for him to have gold. I think it's going to be Garcia, just because I don't have a reason to believe Wheeler can win right now. You know, I know he's capable of it. I just don't think he's going to, and I think it's because the BCC is going to be making some real changes.
Yeah, which I guess leads into the final match on the card, which is Chris Jericho versus Claudio Castagnoli for the Ring of Honor World Championship match. If Claudio loses, he will be forced to join the Jericho Appreciation Society.
Now is not the time. Now is not the time for your cute shenanigans.
So if you haven't noticed by his reaction, I think you can all figure out who James thinks is going to win this match.
I am not prepared for Claudio to leave the BCC. I'm not prepared for him to be a part of the Jericho Appreciation Society. Quite frankly, I don't want Jericho to be Ring of Honor champion anymore. I understand why he is. I see the value in it. Everybody, I get it. I just don't want it.
Well, I think this comes back to a debate we had a few weeks ago, where do you want Jericho to be your champion as like for the first few months of the show, or do you want him to be defeated right before the show starts and have a Ring of Honor guy be your champion?
I think ideally you have it be on the first episode of the show, Jericho drops the title. I think that's the ideal scenario. So if they had this match on ROH episode 1, Claudio, I don't think so. I think we're getting the Ocho continuing.
Oh,
yeah.
Man, I don't know. Like, I don't know if Jericho wants to work Ring of Honor.
I don't think he cares. I think he's getting paid the same no matter what. And I think there's a part of I love Jericho. I think we could agree Jericho has an ego. Is that fair to say?
What do you think?
And all we've heard was, oh yeah, Jericho was a huge factor in AEW getting a TV show in the first place. He was the biggest name AEW had, and he was one of the biggest reasons AEW got Dynamite. I think he wants to be able to say the same for Ring of Honor, that he helped Ring of Honor get a TV deal.
But they already did, allegedly. So,
but I mean, part of that would be because of Jericho, probably as champion, being on TV
and still being champion.
Yeah.
Damn.
Right.
Really trying to work my way into picking Claudio here.
I want it so much. I'm with you. I want it so much. I've had my heart broken though too many times.
He's gonna suck in the Jericho Appreciation Society.
No, that's the worst part. He's not.
No, I know he's not gonna suck. It's just the storyline's gonna suck.
Yes, I don't want him in that group. I want him to be a good wrestler, wrestling good. That's what I want. I don't need him to be goofy Claudio. I don't need him to be goofy Cesaro. I don't need that. I had that for years. Now I want Claudio. I'm not going to get it.
Man, the weird thing too is like they're also already running this storyline with Matt Hardy in the firm and the party as well. Like I think they're already doing this bit.
I think the difference is though, Claudio, who is just a naturally great heel when he wants to be, I think he's going to embrace being part of the Jericho Appreciation Society, as opposed to Matt, who's just continuously fighting it. I think we're going to get like a couple weeks of it, and then he's going to realize, oh yeah, Hager's this guy I used to team with and I had a good time with, you know? I think he's going to fall back into being a heel. And yeah.
Man, that would suck.
I'm right there with you. I'm there with you.
You're probably right. I should pick Jericho And the fact that
Go with your heart. Go with your heart.
It's just, I want Claudio to win. I think there is a world here where Claudio does win. I don't think this is a done deal.
The way Tony Kahn talked about it, the way he spoke about it at the show, at the media call, was who's going to win? Is the Ring of Jericho going to continue, or is Claudio going to save the company? Is he going to save the championship? So he's meant to be this like defender of Ring of Honor. So there is a chance that could work. I know better. I know better.
See, also, I kind of have a problem with this match. I have a couple of problems with this matchup in general. One, I think the stipulation is dumb.
Yes.
I don't understand why they put it in the first place. Two, I don't feel like it should be Claudio being the savior of Ring of Honor.
Should be
I feel
Brian.
yeah, maybe, I guess. But, like, I feel like you almost should have found somebody who, like, was a big-time Ring of Honor champion that we haven't seen yet.
I mean,
I don't know
objectively,
objectively,
there aren't many options on the table. That's the problem.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the former Ring of Honor champions are in WWE. A lot of the former Ring of Honor champions have already wrestled Jericho.
Yeah.
Or some of them just aren't in a position that it would make sense to wrestle Jericho. Samoa Joe doesn't really, at this point now,
right now,
the bookings, but doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And then there are the guys
one of them tore his bicep and maybe getting kicked out of the company. One of them has a career-threatening concussion, and we hope he gets better. But he's in no position to do anything right now.
I mean, God willing, he will be. But yeah, there's not a lot of options. And the other one may be Austin Aries. Who the hell cares anymore?
Fuck him.
Yeah. So there aren't many options left.
Should have been Brian.
It should have been Brian.
I didn't understand why they started with him losing. It should have worked its way to Brian.
I agree. If they can wow me and they get Nigel McGuinness, I'll take back every bad thing I said.
That would be fun.
That would be. But I don't think we're getting Nigel McGuinness.
Is he cleared?
I don't know. Even if he is, he's a little old at this point. I mean, Jericho's older.
Yeah.
But
he hasn't wrestled in how many years?
I'm working myself up. I got a headache.
I mean, look, yeah, it's this matchup is weird in and of itself. I mean, Claudio had already lost to him twice, I think.
He beat. Yeah. Yep.
He lost the title to him, and then didn't they rematch and he lost again?
Well, the rematch was a fatal 4-way.
Oh, that's right. Okay, that's fair.
The rematch was a fatal 4-way, and Claudio has a win over him in the tag match.
All right, yeah. So I mean, but it's still kind of weird.
No, it is. It is. It absolutely is.
Yeah. I mean, it's the whole fucking Ring of Jericho Appreciation Society thing versus the BCC is also fucking this all up too. So you know what? Picking Claudio, fuck it. I want him to win. Solidarity. But it's gonna be Jericho. I'm sorry.
I hope it's Claudio. I hope you're right, and I hope I'm wrong. I don't think so.
And on that disappointment. Well, actually, on that disappointment, thank you everybody so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. James, when you wrapping?
Oh God, that's up to Danny.
At this point, I'm gonna end up writing this rap because nobody else will.
Admittedly, Danny did write a good portion of it, if not all of it. It's just we haven't had any time to rehearse it, and I need to approve it because I really don't want to get canceled.
We need a beat. I'm sure David and/or Chad can provide.
Sure.
So yeah, be sure to subscribe so you can see when that finally comes out. It's only been like a year. Also, be sure to check out all of our social media stuff down below: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Anytime we go live, which is usually after Dynamite, almost always after Dynamite. Plus, occasionally you'll get some stuff from Danny after Raw. Hopefully, Chad's coming back with his NXT show. We'll see. He's been pretty disillusioned with that, though. James will be doing his Impact reviews again shortly.
Hopefully this week we will be seeing a Gym Pack Zone.
Yep, love the Gym Pack Zone. We don't do SmackDown. It's on Friday. We're busy. And we will possibly be doing something for Final Battle. We don't know yet. We have to see. We will let you know if we do end up doing something for that. But like I said, subscribe and you'll find out. Follow us on social media stuff and you'll find out. So on that note, for James Gisante, my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching. And we will catch you here next time on the Market Down Podcast. Have a good one, everyone.